Hey Retro community, how's everyone doing? So if you remember, a couple of weeks ago I released a video on the iMac G5 variant, and we went over it a little bit, some of its specs, its history, and did a preliminary teardown. Well, today we're going to go ahead and fully tear it down, well, enough to replace the hard drive and add some additional RAM and maybe give it a good cleaning, because some of these fans and other areas have some dust on it, so I want to get them cleaned out. So let's go ahead, rip it open, and continue on. Now, this generation of iMac only has 3 screws that you have to loosen in order to remove the back casing. And these are captive screws, so they do not come out. You just have to unscrew the 3 and the case will just lift up as we showed in part 1. They're just standard Phillips though, so you don't need anything other than that in order to loosen them up. Now, this is back in the day when Apple products were still easy to service and upgrade. They were using just standard PC parts in terms of the disk and the RAM. They weren't fighting for the right to repair. They weren't, soldering everything to the board. And it's one of the reasons why people are still holding on to some of these older machines. It's one of the reasons why I still have a mid-2012 13-inch MacBook Pro, because the hard drive and RAM are still upgradable on there, and I have the RAM maxed out on them. The storage, I only have a 250 gig SSD, but that's all I need on there since I store everything on a file server as well as cloud. But all of the other products Apple makes nowadays, they're not upgradable. The iMacs, I think you can upgrade the RAM, and if you risk taking it apart, you can replace the hard drive and maybe even the CPU. Inside of this Mac here, it's not very dirty, as you can see, which is kind of nice. I guess they must have took care of it. But yeah, going back to Apple and the right to repair, it's not about safety. It's not about making things thinner. It's about profits. But again, as you can see, relatively clean in here. Not a whole lot of dust. Plastics might need a little bit of cleaning. The fans are dusty though, and I will have to take them out and clean them. Hopefully they're easy to disassemble. I don't want to risk it, but we'll see. We do know that the drive itself works and the Mac does power on, so it is a slower drive, but it won't matter because I'm going to replace it with an SSD that I've got laying around. The drive itself is SATA because, as I just tapped there, that's a SATA cable. We're going to see how big the drive is, but the new one is going to be a 120 gig SSD. I'm not going to be storing a whole lot of stuff on here either, and 120 gigs is probably more than enough. I'd be willing to bet this has an 80 gig, maybe 160 gig. We'll find out. Gotta find out the max RAM though. I think it's 2 gig, as I mentioned in part 1, but I want to double check. But everything in here is modular, and that's why, newer Apple products just infuriate me. But what are you going to do about it? It's Apple. They're going to do what they want, regardless of what anyone tells you. Repair companies would love to get access to repair manuals, whatever. I'm done talking about that. Capacitors look good. They don't look like they've leaked at all. Everything is clean. And yeah, so remove the hard drive, remove these 2 screws there, remove this fan shroud, and then there's a few more screws to remove. There may be some more under the shroud, I'm not sure. We won't know until we get inside. Yeah, just a shroud, just a piece of sheet metal that's been stamped out. Foam's disintegrated a little bit. I can get some foam tape if I need it. I think it's fine though. You can definitely see there's dust in there. The smaller one, not really. So I'm going to leave that one there, but the larger one I will be removing and taking apart. System's not that old, so that's why it's probably not that dirty. Not like an iMac G4 or G3 or anything like that. There's another screw there, so we'll have to loosen that. Okay, the drive should just come loose now. I don't think there's anything else holding it in. So let's carefully remove it so I don't rip any cables out. Yep, there we go. There's a temperature sensor on the side. You be very careful when you remove that. If you damage it at all, some Macs won't boot, others will just spin the fans at full power no matter what. So it is a 160 gig drive though, which is kind of nice. It's a Seagate drive, depending on your feelings on that brand or not. So yeah, 160 gig down to 120 gig, not much of a downgrade. No worries there. RAM does just clip out. It's 512 meg in here. It is almost, yeah, it is a DDR1 stick, PC3200, CL3. Got Samsung modules on there. So we definitely want to add some RAM. I want to maybe at least 1 gig. Hopefully I can get it up to the max of 2 gig. What else we got here? I don't think there's a fan under here, but there is like another shroud or some sort of funneling device to funnel air out. So I'm not really sure about that. If you look at the back of the case, though, there are, it seems like it's machined in a way to route air out. So it's possible that it routes it from the G5 to the fans and then out the vents here and here. And then there's also some ventilation and the speakers on the bottom there too. So G5 processors get pretty warm for any of you that have dealt with one before. Back when I tested this earlier, it was very loud. But again, it could have been because it was dirty. So hopefully cleaning it will quiet those fans down a little bit. There's a little bit of dust here and there. I don't think there's much. I'm not going to take the optical drive out or anything else because I don't want to risk damage anything. But this thing here, I'm not sure what this is. It's a weird piece of plastic. There's some header pins underneath, some cabling, and I'm not really sure. I think it might be a power inverter for the LCD display. I'll put it up on the screen if it is. It's clean, so capacitors under there look good. I'm not going to bother taking this out the rest of the way. I'll just put it back together. Okay, this is Bluetooth. This is your Wi-Fi airport card. It's they're not really labeled, so I have to look them up. For now, I'm just going to pause video so I can get the fan out, clean it, clean up any other parts that are easily accessible, and I'll take that. I'll get that taken care of. I'll get the SSD prepped, and we'll go from there. So I've got the SSD ready. I got some brackets to convert it from a 2.5-inch size to 3.5-inch size. Cleaned the fan off as best as I could. I don't have any brush that can actually get in those little blades there. But unfortunately with the RAM, I don't have as much as I thought I did. I've got the max capacity that I have is 256 gig. So I can bump it up to 768. But maybe it's enough. If it's not, maybe I'll order some. And I've got several ones, so if one doesn't work, maybe another one will work. Let's go ahead and start to get this drive taken care of. We'll get the old one out of the bracket, get the new one set up, and hopefully we can make it fit. So I realized that the bracket that I have is not going to completely mount to the mounting bracket itself. It only really attaches, I can only attach 2 screws. So I'm going to have to try to figure something out for this. I'm going to do a rough test fit here just to make sure I can get the cabling and everything. I may have to readjust the position of the drive itself with the expansion brackets. I didn't plan that part out as well as I should have. I may ultimately have to look online and see if there's any sort of proper 2.5-inch to 3.5-inch adapter that can reposition the SAT and power connector to where they would normally be on the 3.5-inch disc, and maybe a bracket that's got a full length. It's a full length bracket that has all 3 holes that a typical 3.5-inch hard drive would have. So yeah, it's going to be a little janky and a little rigged together. I may have to utilize some double-sided tape. The overall fit itself will be fine, but the cables aren't really going to reach, so I'm going to have to readjust it here. Yeah, well, it is what it is. And by the way, if you're wondering why you don't hear any of the rustling or the screwdriver or anything like that, it's because I'm doing a voiceover. I didn't like the audio quality that I originally did, so I'm redoing it. So, but yeah, it's definitely not. It's not what I was hoping it would be. You can see it's not really secured well. Like I said, we'll see. If tape is good enough for it, great. If not, then I'll get a proper bracket for it. So that's a much better fit for the cabling. So, and I got to be careful with that other cable. That's a display cable. I don't want to damage that because I don't want to mess with that at all. Yeah, just reattach the fan and the rest of the screws, whatever screws I can reattach, hold the drive together at least enough on, until I can figure a better solution out. Reattach the shroud here, which will not be able to be fully reattached since I don't have that one screw hole there. The old drive was mounted upside down, so it utilized the mounting hole on the drive itself to hold that bracket in place. I don't have that now, so maybe I'll have to use some Kapton tape or something. And maybe I'll use some Kapton tape to hold the drive down a little bit better as well, too. Let me just finish reattaching everything, and we'll go from there. That's going to be as secure as I can get it right now, so definitely going to need some tape. I don't want to use electrical tape because it's a little thicker, and I don't know how the rear will hold on. So, yeah, let's let's go ahead and get some tape cut and get it attached, adhered to the bracket itself just to keep it from moving too much. That's going to be good enough. It is what it is. I mean, even if I were to go with the appropriate bracket, I don't think it would have that mounting hole on it, so tape is going to have to do. Like I said, I'll put some in the back of the drive too, just to keep it mounted a little more flush. If it moves around, it's not a big deal. It's in the plastic casing, so nothing will short out. I just would rather have it not moving around too much. At the very least, I don't want the fans to amplify any vibrations that that loose drive could cause. So, this battery here, I should probably replace it if I have any left. I mean, it was keeping time when I tested it in part 1, so I might not need to do so yet, but since I got it open, we'll see. I'm going to put the 512 meg module in first, since that's what it came with, and that's the slot it was in. And I'm really hoping that that double-sided module that I'm going to add to it will work. If not, I've got a few more sticks. And like I said before, if this doesn't work, maybe I can order some and do a follow-up video. I'll try to get everything wrapped up in this video if at all possible, and I don't want to delete it any further. I cleaned the inside, but it looks like I missed a spot or two, or maybe three, so take care of that real quick. Hey, no one ever said this is going to be super high quality stuff here. I'm not Lucasfilm, I'm not Disney, I'm not Warner Brothers. Just reattach it. Make sure when you slide it in that you get those little tabs into their grooves appropriately so you don't snap anything. And you just push down and you just reattach 3 screws. Again, they're captive screws, so they should not be removed from the casing. If they are, oops. And it's about 7 to 9 turns to loosen or tighten them back up again on the outer edges, and the one in the middle I think is between 5 and 6. All right, let's do a quick power run test to see if everything is working. And if it is, great. And if not, then there'll be lots of cussing and swearing. Here's the moment of truth. Power lights on, good. Hopefully, that's a good sign. Fans are a little loud, as I mentioned before. Maybe I'll get a recording of them at some point so you can hear, but... So you can see the flashing folder, because it can't find anything to boot off of. I'm going to see if I can find a copy of Leopard, or at least Tiger, but the only copy of Tiger that I know that I've got is for an older MacBook. So I found a copy of Leopard. I don't know if it works. We'll find out. If it does, great. If not, then I'll look online to see if I can find a copy on some abandonware site or purchase one like on eBay or something. By the way, simple tip, in case you have a stuck CD and your eject button isn't working on your keyboard like mine doesn't, you hold the mouse button down as you power down, it'll eject it. It's a 2-button mouse, it's going to be the left button. Just remember that. Because again, if this doesn't work, I'll have to force eject it. And it's booting so far, so fingers crossed. This should just be a clean retail copy of Leopard. It's not a system-specific version, so the only other copy of macOS I've got is like 10.2, and that definitely won't work on here. I'm going to fast forward this part here because it just takes a long time to boot from optical media. I think I sped this up like 20 times and it's still... Okay, we're good now. Let's go ahead and get me a mouse pad here because the surface of the table is either too reflective or not reflective enough for it. Mouse pad's upside down because it's got a Dell logo on it, and I don't... It's a Mac video, I don't want to advertise Dell in it, so... So, we're going to go ahead and open up Disk Utility so that we can get the drive formatted and prepped. I know you can do it during setup, but I like to do it beforehand. I guess I could have done the back of the original drive and restored it to this, but I'm going to start from scratch, so... Alright, let's go ahead and get this drive formatted. And it's not there. Well, that sucks. Yeah, not sure what's going on. Let me power it all down, take it apart, and put it back together just in case I didn't plug something in completely. Yeah, it's not seeing it at all. Yeah, let me power this down, double check all the cables and everything, and we'll go from there. So, yeah, no luck with that either. I'm not sure if this specific SSD just isn't compatible with this Mac. I mean, it is a SATA Gen 3 drive, but that should be backwards compatible with 2 and 1. This iMac is Gen 1 SATA, so technically it should work, but it's possible that with SSDs, they don't conform to the standard completely. And I did grab another one. I have a Intel one that I have laying around that did not work either. So yeah, I'm out of luck on that. In fact, what I did, I actually put a mechanical drive in and just put Mac OS on there just to make sure everything is completely working. So that's what it's running on now. Also, the RAM didn't work either. So I'm just going to go ahead and order a proper SSD, probably from OWC, get some RAM, and get that going. So unfortunately, there's going to be a part 3, but that seems to be part of for the course around here with me and Max. So yeah, sorry that we don't have a fully working Mac in this video. Well, technically I have a fully working Mac because of the mechanical hard drive, but I would really like to max out the RAM and get an SSD in there. And maybe I'll do a speed comparison test. I'll fire up the one with the mechanical drive and 512 megs of RAM and see how long it takes to boot and to launch applications, and then we'll do the same thing again with the SSD and the maxed out RAM. So yeah, so wait for that in part 3. Otherwise, I hope you liked today's video. Hope you guys learned something from it. If you liked it, hit the thumbs up. If you didn't, hit the thumbs down, but please leave a comment below as to why so I can use that criticism to help make improvements going forward. If you haven't subscribed yet, feel free to subscribe too. Otherwise, thanks all. I'll catch you later.